Halloween Ends was met with critical acclaim, but fans couldn't help but notice that Michael Myers' screen time had been significantly reduced in the 2022 reboot. However, it was still more than the 1978 classic. Surprised? We sure are. But would it surprise you when we say that it doesn't really matter? All that and much more in today's video. First up, how much screen time did Michael Myers have in 1978 versus 2022? The seemingly cursed town of Haddonfield, Illinois is reeling from Michael Myers' latest killing spree back in 2018. Halloween Ends is set in 2019, where 21-year-old Corey Cunningham finds himself in the middle of accidental manslaughter charges and the town's anger when he's eventually cleared from the charges. We dive into the movie too much, but fair warning, there might be some spoilers ahead. Corey is now the town's most hated resident, and the only one who sympathizes with him is Laurie, Myers' muse apparently. Anyway, Myers manages to find a way to Corey in the sewers, and the two embark on an unlikely friendship. Between being the town's target and his increasing social isolation, Corey eventually takes on a more active role in the killings. So while Halloween Ends is at its essence about Myers, it gives the reins over to Corey as the film's leading antagonist. The only other time this has happened in the franchise was back in 1982 with the release of Halloween 3: Season of the Witch, where Myers was absent throughout the film. However, not everyone was happy about Myers' reduced screen time. Fans took to Twitter to express their displeasure over McBride and Green's alleged contempt. That's when a Twitter account, Halloween Movie Source, revealed something pretty interesting. The Shape appeared for a total of 10 minutes and 55 seconds in Halloween Ends, compared to 9 minutes and 37 seconds in the original Halloween back in 1978. Now for Why Doesn't It Matter? The Twitter handle confirmed the allegations were unfounded and that Myers actually had more screen time in 2022 than he did in 1978. That's only the first reason why the whole drama didn't matter. The second would be the fact that Halloween Ends needed a new antagonist, especially since they were exploring a whole new aspect of the film. Corey's ostracization by the people of Haddonfield is because he accidentally caused the death of a 9-year-old boy he'd been babysitting, Jeremy. The 1978 original kicked off Michael Myers' arc with him killing his babysitter/older sister. Plus, Laurie is grown on Halloween Ends with a family of her own and is even writing a memoir about her time in Haddonfield and her many encounters with Myers. She also talks about the evil within as one of two kinds of evil. Laurie claims that while Myers is largely considered to be the town's sole villain, the truth is that just about anyone could turn into a deranged serial killer if they were nudged in the twisted direction. And that's exactly what happens when Cunningham fights Myers for his mask and goes about his own killing spree in the town on Halloween night. So not only did it not matter because it wasn't true, but also because the story needed to showcase that while Myers might actually die one day, doubtful considering all the bullets he's taken yet managed to come back film after film, the serial killer will eventually turn the reins into another isolated, dejected, and jeered-at outcast from Haddonfield. Green claimed that the writing team knew they were taking a massive risk with the character shift, but ultimately decided it was in the film's best interest, and it was. Up next, Michael Myers and the Halloween franchise. The year is 1978, and John Carpenter has opened up a Pandora's box, which is the horror film franchise Halloween. The series would continue on for 13 installments, with the latest one, Halloween Ends, coming out in 2022. Notwithstanding the stellar characters that came out of Halloween, the one that gained the most notoriety was Michael Myers, the shape-shifting serial killer with a penchant for helpless teenagers. The fictional character from the slasher series became an instant cult favorite. Kids for generations to come would dress up as Myers for Halloween, the perfect ode to the character. It was never so much about the man behind the mask, though, because over 6 different actors played the iconic role over the course of 5 decades. You get the gist of it. Michael Myers became a cultural icon. Halloween Ends was the last film in the latest Halloween trilogy that began in 2018. Danny McBride and David Gordon Green announced that the trilogy would officially conclude in 2022. In 2019, they announced that Jamie Lee Curtis would return to the latter 2 films to reprise her role as Laurie Strode, and that American stunt performer James Jude Courtney would reprise his role as Michael Myers. Nick Castle, the original Michael Myers, was also set to make cameo appearances in the film, unrelated to the knife-wielding serial killer. Safe to say, the film garnered significant hype. However, fans soon realized that the 2022 installment was centered on another mass serial killer and that Myers' role had seemingly been cut back on. Moving on, why did fans think Myers had less screen time? Now, here's an interesting question. Why did fans even think that Myers had less screen time in 2022 when he actually had more now than he did in the franchise's inaugural movie? The first movie featured the serial killer in many POVs, many more mentions of him, and a few direct appearances he made around town. For example, when he taunted Laurie outside of her classroom window. Also, Myers' presence was felt throughout Haddonfield and cinemas, as this ominous shape could be anywhere and had an itching to kill. Screen time didn't matter because John Carpenter wanted the audience to feel his presence more than they actually got to witness it on screen, the makings of a phenomenal horror film indeed. The 2022 film featured Myers' character as the OG serial killer who had taken on an apprentice. Not surprisingly, the film then focused more so on his apprentice than it did on him. He might have had more screen time in the form of more appearances, but fewer POVs, and a drastically cut-down, ominous-looking threat. For the next segment, How Halloween Ends secretly shoots down the cult of Thorn. First up, Halloween Ends ruined Halloween 5's shot at being canon. Michael Myers is no ordinary guy. Sure, he's a deranged sociopath and has that going on for him to set him apart from the rest, but the guy's also managed to survive being impaled in the eye, shot at multiple times, stabbed, and thrown off a balcony. Yet, he manages to come back in the next film fitter than a fiddle. What's his secret? It could be the horror film motto of "Don't ask and tell." There's no explanation whatsoever, or that Myers is actually superhuman. This concept was teased in the 4th installment in the series, with a brief appearance by the Man in Black, who revealed himself as Terrence Wynn in the 5th film. Wynn was the leader of the Cult of Thorn. Many years ago, the cult took part in a ritual that would have a child sacrificed from the tribe to protect the rest of the members of the tribe, whilst fulfilling the somewhat ironic prophecy that the child kills off his own family instead. The Cult of Thorn's existence was the entire plot of Halloween: The Curse of Michael Myers, but the 2022 installment seemingly disproves its existence in canon after Laurie makes a comment on evil being more of a sickness or an infection than it is a curse. Let's talk about what did Laurie say to Corey. Laurie was the only person in Haddonfield who wasn't outright horrible to Corey Cunningham, the town outcast. However, this opens Corey's way into her granddaughter's life, and when Laurie suspects Corey might be behind the latest murders to plague the town, she decides to confront him. The character takes on a sympathetic approach when describing evil to Corey, who by this time hasn't completely morphed into Myers' persona. She talks about evil being an external force that threatens the well-being of the tribe, proving the existence of the Cult of Thorn, but then quickly recants it by saying that evil is a sickness or an infection that ends up slow killing each member of the tribe. So, just to clarify, there's nothing there about the Cult of Thorn. Lastly, could evil really be an infection? McBride and Green really wanted to bring the whole film to a full circle and leave no loose ends. When Laurie mentions that evil is like sickness or an infection, it's a reference to the fact that Corey cuts his hand the first time he meets Myers. For context, the guy was thrown off a bridge by some bullies. He cuts his hand while tumbling down and meets Myers in the sewers, thus beginning his newfound role as Haddonfield's serial killer. Each time Corey visits Myers, the cut on his hand grows more and more infected, implying that Myers is infecting Corey with his evil. This, as it turns out, was a fair assumption, since the 21-year-old eventually overpowers Myers to steal his mask and wreak havoc on Haddonfield as the new Michael Myers. That's a wrap for this video. Thanks for watching. Did you prefer the 1978 original to the 2022 reboot? Let us know in the comments down below. Be sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more. See you at the next one.